That climb's better than my cat for sure.
I'll say.
All right, everybody, welcome back to an episode of whatever this is. This is a video where we get to break down the technology and our expectations for next year's snowmobile. If you came here to watch me ride at 2021 Summit, you came to the wrong place. All right, so I had the Yamaha video planned actually for like today or tomorrow, but then I saw that SKIDOO was releasing their stuff right away, so I was like, okay, we got to change things up a little bit. We're gonna have to do this one first. So we're gonna talk about our expectations for SKIDOO this year, what we expect to see, what we know isn't gonna change. So grab yourself a nice cheap can of beer like we got here, and let's get on with whatever this video is. I'm just gonna break it down into a few segments. Engine, chassis, suspension and drivetrain, using those as all-encompassing areas of the sled, and we'll just talk about them all quickly here. Let's actually start with this. So if you go over to SKIDOO Facebook right now, you can see that they have this teaser image for their probably a mountain model of some kind. Of course, it has the red color option there. And everybody absolutely loves it. I don't know what these guys talk about. I like red, actually. It looks like a Gen 4 platform. Doesn't surprise me. I don't expect to see a new platform out of SKIDOO this year. I'm actually expecting to see very limited things out of SKIDOO this year. They already kind of showed their hand early with their 2020, which is more like a 2020 and a half turbo release on their 850 E-Tech. So that really shows what they have in store for next year. That, I think, was the big surprise going into their 2021 model year, was that turbo engine. So let's dive right into the engine here. Perfect time now to go down and subscribe. I think it's safe to say that we can expect this 850 to be around a long time. When that 850 engine came out in 2017 and was available to the market, little did a lot of people know, and this was a really well-kept secret, was that engine was really always designed to run with that turbo. So now we're seeing that. So we can expect to see that 850 E-Tech, of course, with like new iterations, new adjustments, new refinements. But I think we can see that 850 around for many years to come. As far as the 2021 model go with that 850 turbo, I've heard a lot of people say that, oh, it'll be available on pretty much everything. So diving off the path of the Summit a little bit, people said, oh, it'll be available on the Expert, it'll be available on the MXZ, the MXZ if you're Canadian. Z sounds cooler, of course. So the MXZ has more power than the MXZ. And I've even heard people say that it's going to be on their trail models. This is where I disagree. I don't think you're going to see that 850 turbo on anything but a Summit specific model, and a very specific model of that Summit. I think it's going to be spring order only. And the reason why I don't think you're actually going to see it on any of the other sleds is because that engine with that turbo setup was built to perform at altitude. So most flatlanders or people who mainly just do trail riding, their elevation could be anywhere from sea level to, generalizing, 3,000 feet is kind of the peak. That's not always the case, but that's kind of, what we're used to seeing. So that engine is, with that turbo setup, is built for performance at altitude. Like they say, it'll maintain that 165 horsepower up to 8,000 feet. So that's where the mountain rider is. That's where the mountain rider's hanging out. So that turbo is really meant to perform at altitude. And what that says to me is that this is going to be the turbo. It's for the summits. Like, I'm sure somebody's gonna make a Franken sled out there with that turbo on an MXZ or something like that. But as far as what's going on with the factory options, I only expect to see that turbo setup on a Summit, and I only expect to see it as a spring order package. You can't force that turbo on to all your models because, especially if you're here in Canada, like that becomes a very pricey unit. I've heard out the door anywhere in Canada here from 21,000 to 23.5. I don't know if that depends on the dealer. I've just heard these numbers being thrown about. I did get to see one climb when we were out a few weeks ago though. Like they do well. So I have seen one perform a little bit. I just watched them from a distance. I was talking to them at the parking lot, but not Not to say that I know that machine very well, because I don't. You can't have that 850 available as a turboed model for all of your lineup, because that's going to push so many people away from your product just due to price point. Let's take a look at the chassis. All right, so in this blurred photograph, this chassis looks very Gen 4-esque. I don't expect to see a whole lot happening as far as the chassis upgrade. But when you think about it, we're getting to the end of the Gen 4. Like, the Gen 4 is starting to get old. So when we look back to 03, we have the Rev, so 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, so 5 years. It was actually 03 and a half, but we'll just say 03. So I got 5 years out of that chassis. Well, this Summit on the Gen 4 chassis has been around 17, 18, 19, 20, so this year will be 21. So I kind of expect this to be the final year of this chassis. I think maybe they might squeeze one more out of it after this, but it's getting toward the end of its life. And Skidoo's kind of always the ones to push further and push a little harder than everyone else. So this could be the last year for this chassis, or maybe they have a new one. I doubt it, because this picture looks very Gen 4-esque. So can't see anything really new changing with the chassis. Of course, they always like refine little things, but I don't think so. I don't think you're gonna see anything new with that chassis at all. Not this year. That's that Gen 4 is, it's just it's not the spring chicken it used to be. Suspension, again here, not really suspecting to see any big changes. Maybe they'll do some refinements, just some little stuff, but I'm not expecting to see anything big here. What I would like to see is that they put on a good shock package. The ones they have, and there's gonna be people argue with me down in the comments. The ones that they have now, they're a little gimmicky. Go ahead, go argue about it down in the comments. I don't care. If you're gonna compare it to what Polaris and CAT have for shock packages, these ones are a little gimmicky. They kind of already did their big suspension change with the Expert this year, so they'll probably make little refinements on that, but that's kind of where they went with it. So I'm not expecting to see anything big there either. What I'd also actually like to see with that suspension is a skid upgrade. They're still using torsion spring skid, which is like, it's old technology. There actually are kits on the market to delete that torsion spring altogether in a Summit skid. Getting a skid upgraded and redesigned is actually something that can benefit you in the future, because it's not hard to change a skid from one chassis to the next. Not without like it doesn't need a whole lot of adjusting. It doesn't need a whole lot of refinement. Sure, there's gonna be things you're gonna change, but it's gonna pretty much pop right into whatever you build next. Like, maybe you gotta change the angle on the rail a little bit, and you gotta make this arm maybe a little longer, but if you can redesign that skid even for this chassis, it's gonna be pretty much, you pop it right into the next one. It's not gonna be a hard thing to do. All right, let's move on to the drivetrain. Again here, not really expecting to see much for changes. I can't see them going with a full belt kit or anything like that. As we get to the end of this Gen 4 chassis, which is only a year or two left in it, I would say, is that it's just gonna be tiny refinements, you know, make it a little tougher, make that chain case a little more dependable, but it's not gonna be anything big. I don't expect anything big anyway. I don't expect anything major in the clutching. I don't expect anything major in the drivers. I'm not really suspecting that they're gonna do much here, because what they have is working, and whatever they're working on next is probably gonna be for that Gen 5 chassis. Whatever they have going, it's just going to be the options that they have as track for now. So the 154, the 165, and the 174. I think the 174 is a dying breed, and I could go on to talk about that in a whole nother video, so I'll stay away from that today. So that's a pretty quick overview of what I think is going on this year. I'm not really expecting a whole lot. They already showed their hand with that turbo, so that's what that's already their big thing. The 2020, I'll call it a 2020 and a half release. So I'm not expecting huge things besides what they already said that they were gonna do. Having said that, SKIDOO is kind of like the trailblazers of, especially when it comes to mountain tech. Like, they're always really the first ones to do it, and then you see later iterations of it in Polaris and in Arctic Cat. Like the Rev chassis is a perfect example of that. The Shot, that's another example of that came much later. They're generally the first ones to do it. Not all the time, but if I'm gonna put my money somewhere on big technology upgrades, I'm gonna put it on Doo. That's all I have to say, guys. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking for this 2021 release. If there's gonna be any, if you think there's any big changes, if you got the inside track somewhere, go ahead and leak it. We will reconvene in just a few days, and we will talk about what SKIDOO is doing for 2021. So I know you guys have been enjoying these types of videos. I've been enjoying making them, doing the research, and just looking in and providing a little bit of insight. So that's it. I'm gonna end that video there for the mountain segment. If you guys want to support the channel, tons of links down there in the description, including the online store. If you want to go over to Patreon just to help keep things rolling, like what you guys have given helps keep this content going, because I love doing it. Thanks to our most recent Patreon, Matt Gordon. I especially like him because he has the same name as me. And thanks to Kulo2 Rider, Mr. Wilbanks. Thanks for coming by and supporting the channel, you guys. Some bonus content on there. If you become a Patreon, you get to see a little bit behind the scenes stuff. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And hit that like button down below. And we'll see you just in a few days. We'll see what's going on.